Separate Ways is a masterclass of a DLC. With the runtime from 4 to 6 hours for the first playthrough, 7 chapters total, standalone save and progression, multiple difficulty options, performance-based unlocks, the DLC has it all. Now, it could be considered an asset flip as it does carry over much of what's already in the main game. It's an asset flip in a good way. It flips assets to show what is happening on the other side of the story. Behind closed doors, if you will. Behind the scenes, what's really going on the other side of the rescue mission. Now, Ada's mission isn't a rescue mission like Leon's. It's a retrieval mission. She's on a mission to capture the Amber. Now, in this DLC, we get more context that she's directly hired from Wesker and is retrieving the Amber, and Wesker's motive getting the Amber. Now, at the end of the DLC, we get insight that Wesker wants to use the Amber to take over the world, and Ada was his mercenary to retrieve it. Now, we don't see Ada give the Amber directly to Wesker. We actually see her tell the pilot to drift away from the direction of Wesker. But Wesker always seems one step ahead of Ada and has Krauser's body laying in the yacht. Now, the DLC starts with Ada hallucinating in the castle, fighting Vertigo. We later come to find out that she's hallucinating because she is infected, and her being infected brings Luis deeper into her story than it did into Leon's. Luis is the researcher and the one who puts together the cure for Ada, as a whole chapter is geared towards collecting the ingredients so Luis can put them together and make a cure for Ada. Now, while Leon's story is going on, Ada's story always seems to be a couple steps ahead. Ringing the church bell for Leon, she is secretly helping him without him realizing it. Now, her motive for helping could be intertwined with the feelings they've created together in Resident Evil 2, but more or less, her reasonings for helping him are so he remains an asset for her to retrieve the Amber. Now, the combat in Separate Ways is almost identical to Leon's combat in the main game, but Ada's combat introduces the grappling hook. And the grappling hook adds some interesting gameplay loop. It's more or less a runaway type of mechanic, hop onto ledges. It really shows its use in the El Gigante fight. When Ada's fighting the El Gigante, she's able to grapple on top of buildings, which I had to use in the hardcore run to get the giant to smash the building so I can get more ammo. But it also provides high ground, so the parasite on top of the head of the giant becomes an easier target. Now, arguably the coolest part of the grappling hook mechanic in Separate Ways is the Ada charm. Now, the Ada charm is in the main game, but it's been reworked in the DLC, so it can allow Ada to grapple the shields off enemies and pull them away from them, allowing for conserving ammo and stunning enemies for follow-up attacks. I found this to be an extra layer in the combat that really made the grappling hook not feel so much like a gimmick like it did before I got this charm. Now, like Leon, Ada also has these contracts she can do for the merchant, which allow her to get the rewards, the little spinels that she can trade, which allow for treasure maps, gems to sell for money, which allow to upgrade weapons and buy more weapons. The weapons in Separate Ways are a lot more limited than Leon's campaign. There's fewer options, but the options that are available fit Ada very well. She has one shotgun, so you only have to focus on upgrading one shotgun. It's nice considering the many shotguns that Leon has at his disposal, which can lead to fatigue of figuring out which shotgun needs to be upgraded. She does have a range of pistols at her disposal. I used the Red 9 when it was available, just because it's the strongest in the game. Ada also has the ability to buy a rocket launcher. Her TMP is very useful. She gets 2 sniper rifles in the game, the second one being the Stingray, which is the best option. Ada does come across a few regenerators, which the sniper with the biometric scope becomes very helpful. Ada does see a lot of the same enemies as Leon, including the regenerators. She sees the brutes with the pig heads, and they have the hammer and the weapon on their wrist. She comes across the same Ganados. There's no dogs in her story, which is nice because the dogs in Leon's story can be a pain. Vertigo is a very prominent villain in Ada's story. This is where we see the Vertigo fight that was in the original game come back into this game, in this DLC, where she fights him when he turns into that scorpion-looking creature. She's constantly dealing with Vertigo throughout the entire game up to this point. And then we also see the laser trap from the original game too, also brought back in this DLC, where Ada jumps through and slices the big brutes chasing her through the island. Now, Ada's DLC comes to a close with fighting Sadler before he mutates and fights Leon on the docks in a small arena down in the caves next to the Amber Room. I do believe this is the best boss fight in the game, next to the Vertigo fight. Now, after Ada presumably kills Sadler, he mutates and fights Leon on the docks, and now it's time for us to see how Ada gets Leon that red rocket launcher that the game. Ada runs through these docks to get to a good point to throw the rocket launcher to Leon. And then they have their famous line at the end, where they go their separate ways. Now, after beating the DLC, like Leon's campaign, professional mode is unlocked, along with a few costumes, like for Luis, for Wesker, and Ada herself. Since I beat the game on hard mode, I got a few more cosmetics as well, which allows to play the game again with more costumes from Leon's campaign that are set for Leon carry over to Separate Ways, and vice versa. So if you put a costume on Luis and Separate Ways in Wesker, it'll pop up in Leon's campaign. Now, the merchant progression is separate from the main game, so everything you upgrade in Separate Ways will not carry over to Leon's campaign, and vice versa. The weapons upgrades are unique to Ada. The game does have a faster completion time, which allows for repeat runs back to back. Chapter replay lets you target specific encounters, like where you save in a chapter can allow you to redo the satisfying boss fights like the Vertigo or Sadler or El Gigante. And like Leon's campaign, beating the game faster and on higher difficulty unlocks more cosmetics. Now, why I think this DLC is a masterpiece, even though it is a asset flip, is it really shows a second side to the story. Separate Ways is what a DLC should be, especially if it's going to be an asset flip. I almost feel like this DLC is a scenario B type of thing, like how there is in Resident Evil 2 with Claire and Leon. And maybe that's why I think it's so good. With it feeling like a scenario B, it feels more rooted into the main overarching story. Now, it does provide a lot of context, yes, but it feels different enough from the rescue mission that it doesn't feel like copy and paste, like how the RE2 remake can feel at times.